And now we can go back over here and check on this build. Wait for this to build. Waiting and waiting and waiting. Classic Android stuff. Anyone working on anything exciting this week? Or got some fun stuff? We got Rocket League coming back this weekend. NHL hockey came back yesterday. Rangers are playing tonight. My hometown team, the Red Wings, their first game is tomorrow night. I'm excited to watch some sports this week. I'll probably go watch some sports whenever we're done streaming. Um, yep. Why is this taking so long? This actually should not take that long, I don't think. Um, we like barely changed anything, and it's such a small app. But Gradle gets confused sometimes. So, what is component activity? That is a great question. I have no idea because I just use the compose template. Oh, I think that's a compose thing. Yeah, it is a compose thing, and that's where the set content method comes from. I think that's the short answer. Um, yeah, you need to use component activity to be able to use Jetpack Compose. Um, I think, unless there's another workaround. But when I launched this, I basically used the Android Studio wizard to create a template, and I clicked Compose Template, so that's what we got. All right, so I think I remember seeing this last time. Uh, we have a little bit of bug here in that this progress bar seems to always be visible. Yep, we looked at this last week, and let's go over where that's happening. So it's basically here. Um, we have this circular progress indicator that we're basically just always showing. So instead, let's wrap this in an if statement. If view state is login view state dot loaded submitting. So if we're submitting, show it. Otherwise, it should not be there. So if we run this again, now we should not have our indicator visible. Oh, and because I love it, we can check things off. We can say that we did the hilt stuff. Just waiting for this to run again. So now that it's running, let's kind of manually test some of what we've been working on. So like the first thing I'm going to do is try to click submit, and if the app works correctly, I will see input errors for submitting with empty values. Look at that. Please enter an email, please enter a password. And if I start typing, the error goes away, only for email. Nice. And then, oh, I should fix this so that this doesn't come up when I'm typing on the password view. And then when we log in, huh. Okay, well, actually, I can tell you why this is happening. So because we never handled that success case, it basically transitions into the submitting state and then never leaves. I actually should not be able to interact with the UI when it's submitting. I should disable these as well. Interesting catches there. But let's ignore those little UI bugs for the moment, and let's say that we were successful in connecting the view model to the UI. We can launch the app and see the login screen. So we're going to call this part done. Creating login screen and showing it from activity. One sec. Just laughing at a Twitter message, sorry. We will fix later, we will. we can fix now. Maybe we will fix now because I have documentation on this, but I think documentation deserves its own dedicated stream. So I might just keep moving forward with a little bit of stuff. Um, and then next week can be a documentation focused stream. I think that's what I want to do. Okay, let's go to pull requests. Edit login. By moving the login screen into our activities content. Guess this is an enhancement, kind of. And we'll throw this in the onboarding project and create the pull request. This will yell at me about merging. I'm not 100% sure why. I guess it will have some conflicts. Let's see if we can fix those right from the other. So one is we added this new implementation, so that's a merge conflict. That's resolved. Okay. Let's see if I can do this all from the UI. So we need to keep that import statement. We got rid of this code in favor of just showing login screen. And then we got rid of all of this. That should fix the merge conflicts. We'll hope for the best. Cool. So let's do a git pull and get those updates. I might, because I don't want that to keep happening, I might I might just chat with y'all while we wait for this to finish. Oh, we need to update our stream history for this one. Or it'll yell at me if I don't. We also took that login implementation and used it to display the login screen when our main activity starts up. Just to clarify, that's what we did here. So pleasing the stream history gods with every pull request. And yeah, I think what we'll, hey CP, thanks for stopping by. Hope you're doing well. We just got done, I'll give you a quick little recap. So we just got done adding Hilt to the project and then using that to actually create our login view model that we've been working on. And then plopping that in our main activity. So when I run the app, I actually see the login screen that we've been creating. And with that, I've got a couple UI quirks that I want to resolve, and I think maybe that's what we'll do next. I know I have documentation on here, but ooh, great questions. Let me read all of these. Can you tell us about your professional experience? How do you write code? How do you communicate with your teammate, especially the colleague as junior intern? Thank you for your awesome videos. Well, thank you for the compliment. I'm glad the videos are helpful. How do I write code? Not to go with the easy answer, but just like I'm doing today. I don't typically talk out loud to myself, typically, but it happens. But you know, a lot of what I am trying to show off in this application and my process for development is what I do every day. I think that's something I appreciate about live streaming. Like I said, maybe it's a little different because I'm talking to an audience while I do it. But I really try to make my style of coding here match what I do every day. I like to, you know, go to the documentation, take something I'm learning, drop it in the IDE, see how it works. I like to do things really iteratively, like break them down bit by bit. And I think that's actually kind of how I approached like talking with like colleagues who are junior. Trying to think. Unfortunately, I don't. My like coworker right now is Thank you for the follow, Eric Gabs. Eric Gabs. I hope. Thank you for following. Yeah, that's hard to answer because it's been a while since I've worked with like a junior developer, but I tend to try to take the same approach, like working through a problem, telling junior developers like try to solve it bit by bit, start with what you know about. If they're trying to solve a problem, I have them walk me through like what they know to where they get stuck and then kind of go from there. Um, I don't know, that's a tough question because it's hard to answer like very directly. Um, I don't know, maybe if you have like a more specific question or scenario that you're thinking of. Um, I know it's a very vague answer, but I do. Even my coworker, who's a senior engineer, like um, well, I guess not like this because I mean, kind of because y'all do talk back to me. But even though we're working remotely right now, we do a lot of like paired programming over Zoom when we work on really tough problems. We kind of do the same thing here. We hop on a Zoom. One of us code shares the IDE and says, "Here's what I want to do. Here's what I tried. Why isn't it working?" And then we just kind of go back and forth talking about like what we think the problem is. We sort of hypothesize something, we try a fix, we run it, it works or it doesn't, and we just kind of keep going back and forth like that. Um, really, like a lot of what I do here, um, that's something I've wanted to do when I started streaming, is I wanted this to emulate how I do my job. I wanted to be able to share my perspective to development and how I approach coding, and I wanted it to be like what I do every day. Um, and I hope that in a way, like I hope that like demystifies some of the imposter syndrome for people. Because I think it's very easy for us to feel like we don't know a lot, or like it's very easy to just feel like overwhelmed as an engineer. And I'm sure that I am not perfect in that goal. I'm sure that I've approached some complicated topics very quickly, but that's what I like about chat is people can stop and ask me those questions, and I'm not afraid to have like compilation errors when I do this, and for people to realize like, oh, I make all the same mistakes. And actually, that's really important. Like, how do I like solve those mistakes? Kind of just rambling, and I don't know if I even remotely answered that question, but I hope that somewhere in that ramble, I gave you a close enough answer to what you were interested in knowing. And I appreciate it. If anyone else, if you have follow-ups or anyone else has questions, because like I said, I for this particular pull request, before I move on, I kind of want to let the GitHub action finish, which means like I need to kill like 10 minutes or maybe like another 5 to 10 minutes. Um, and if there aren't questions, we can at least talk through what I want to do once that build passes. I've kind of got like a few things. The first one being, okay, well, um, the first one being that even if we don't handle a um, success case for logging in, uh, I would like to make it so that um, this goes away eventually. Maybe even shows like a snack bar that says, "Hey, um, you logged in" or something. I want to make it so that these are disabled when you're submitting. Um, what's the best all of them. I prefer like about 6 to 7 E's in my re's. That's what I think is best. Hope that answers your question, Tim. Um, the best movie I have watched recently. That's a good question. What is a movie I have really enjoyed? Um, what am I? Well, I'm only 2 episodes in, but I am kind of enjoying Squid Game. I love dark, twisted, moral thrillers. Um, Squid Game is one of those, even though I'm 2 episodes in. Um, that's hard. Like, I haven't been to the movies in a while, so I haven't watched something good recently. Hmm. I'll have to think on that if something stands out to me that I remember. Um, what else was I? Yeah, so there's a lot of UI quirks. There's the submitting, there's these being enabled. Um, there's all sorts of problems with password. So actually, part of it being, uh, I want this to have like, I want this to actually scroll up better so I can like see the whole password window. Um, I need to fix why these dots look like they're for ants. Um, I want to modify it so that the keyboard doesn't show me what I'm typing, even though they're in dots. The keyboard shows me what I'm typing, and I don't, or like up here. I need to get rid of this autocorrect, is what I'm saying. And then I'd also like to look at accompanist insets again and try to make this like an edge-to-edge UI experience. Is another thing I would like to do. Becomes even more interesting around episode 4. Okay, okay. I will finish it. I do want to. I haven't made time to do so. Arrival? Interesting. All right, cool. This all passed. So let's splash and merge this real quick. Um, and this is the only bullet point we care about. Creating login screen, showing it from activity. So that means we can take, oh, 50 was closed. Nice. Um, how do we watch New Berlin and London Android Talks? Good question. You might have to check their websites because those conferences are happening in person. Um, typically, in the before times when in person conferences happened, the only way you could see the talks live was to be there. And then what will happen is they're all recorded, and then usually like 3 to 4 weeks after the event, the conference will post them on YouTube or on the DroidCon website for anyone to watch. Um, if those conferences have any sort of like live feed, I don't know. Um, you'd have to check their websites, but if not, you basically will have to wait till about a month after the conference is done um, before you can see the videos, if that makes sense. Um, cool. Uh, okay, so we're not going to document app architecture. Um, I don't know if I want to make tickets for the UI tweaks that I want to make, or if I let's no, let's just do it. We'll do it offhandedly today. Um, which one of those things do we want to start with? I think I would like to start with simulating a successful login. So let's do that. Simulating a successful login. So there's a couple steps to that. Um, the first one is figuring out, well, how do we want to display that a user logged in? And this is tricky. This is actually something I can see being a debate. Um, and let me tell y'all what my idea is. Well, so first there's a couple things to think about here. It's like, well, what happens? Let's say, what happens when a successful login occurs? What code path does that go through? Well, the where that goes is here. We have this. I really should call this like I should pull this out into a private function, because this is inside login button, and that's weird. Um, really, this should be inside its own function. Let's do it. We'll call this handle login result. And oh, does that keep? Yeah, that's fine. Keeps current credentials. So then this updates our view state based on that login result. So what we need is a additional check here for is login result dot success. And actually, that can remove the else block. Um, so there's a couple things here. So, well, first, this is expecting a view state. Um, so let's just say return the current view state for now. But interesting to think about because when a successful login happens, I don't I don't just want I don't really want to change anything about the view state. Ideally, let's say for today, what I want to do is I want to show like a snack bar. Um, and um, I don't want to worry about navigating. I want to just show a snack bar that says, hey, you've logged in. I guess that kind of changes the view state. Um, I'm wondering if I'm overcomplicating it by not thinking about navigation. Let me talk through this, and I'm making it complicated. Let me talk through where I'm afraid of getting stuck, and then maybe y'all can help me. So this code path comes in. We get a successful result. Something needs to happen here to tell a listener that login was successful. What that is, I don't know yet, but I know that that's where it's going to happen. So whatever you want to do, you need to express it as a view state. Um, I think that makes sense, but let me talk through this whole thing because I don't know um, if modifying the view state is necessarily how I want to do it. So let's say that's happening. Okay. So another thing is, all right, we've got in our main activity, let's say that eventually we're going to have like a nav host here that controls navigation. And when the user logs in successfully, I'll want to tell the nav host to go to the home screen. And the way I would do that here in the activity is I would basically have like, okay, I'm login completed. Tell nav host to move on, move to home. That's what we would do here, right? So I think this part makes sense. So then what we would do is inside our login screen, this is where we could say, login completed. This would basically just be some callback. So now I need a way for, I guess maybe I've talked myself through it. So next is I need a way for login content. Oh, no, not quite. So I've got this login screen that has this on login completed callback. I need a way for the view model to call this. And I don't know the right way to do that. Um, if it were in the view state, I could be like, if view state, is completed, then I could say I'm login completed, or something. Uh, I don't necessarily know if that's right. This feels wrong to me, but has anyone done this? Raphael, are you still here? You've thought about you've worked on the navigation library, so um, I thought about that, Tim, but because we're using Hilton, like the view model creation isn't happening inside the nav graph, it doesn't really make sense. Why does it feel wrong? Because I'm using the view state, which is the view state to me is a representation of what is on the UI. Like that is its responsibility. And now I feel like I'm changing that and I'm taking a representation of the UI and turning it into an action. No, pass the function, not to the VM constructor. Oh, you're saying like here, when I create the view model, when I call Hilt view model, there should be a way for me to pass individual params here. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it exists. You're saying that like here, I should call it line 22. Um, oh, so this makes sense. I kind of see what you're saying, you know? It would make sense. But the problem is actually like, you know, the login content also has no idea that like when login is completed. It's just displaying stuff to the UI. So like I said, that's why this feels wrong. Like it just feels like it's weird to show this and then net or um I don't know if I like that either. So what I've seen done in the past as like a potential solution, um, what I've seen done in the past is using like a channel, um, which is like kind of like a flow, except like it suspends as you're writing and reading from it. So we could have like yeah, there's no it feels like there's no clean way. So let me show you what I've seen in the past. This is actually kind of what I do at Capsule. It's like we basically have like a channel and we could just like make it a type unit because I don't need to send any data. This is just a way of saying something happened. And a more robust way that some people do it is rather than like login completed, they might use like an event bus. So this is like a channel that um yeah, like an event bus might be a better way to think about this. Like having the view model consume some event bus and then emitting a login completed event, right? And then what can happen is like maybe this screen listens to the event bus, and when it consumes that login completed event, that's when it emits. Same idea as a channel, but maybe a little more robust. Um, but let me show you. Let's go down this rabbit hole actually, and um, let's follow this thought through because I can make this, and then we can see how to make it like a little bit better. So we've got this login completed channel, and then what we would do is when we have the success case, we would basically just send something to that channel. Oops, and this needs to happen inside a coroutine. Um, so when we have success, let's launch a coroutine and send to this channel. That's one way of doing it. And then the way we would receive that is I think we would basically need, like here, we would basically need to keep a coroutine scope, and then we could do coroutine scope dot launch, and then um, whoops, login complete channel dot. Um, do I want receive? I think. Why is this yelling at me? Should happen inside a launched effect and not. Is that how I do it? This is experimental, isn't it? Um, how do we do this? Do I want side effect? That's another thing I could do? Maybe side effect is what I want. Apparently side effect works. So one way to think about this, so this will suspend until something is received. And then once it's been received, we invoke this. And so we can test this for now by basically doing, let's log. Um, let's log something. Let's run this and let's see if this works. Why is this better than the previous ideas? There's still logic in the login screen that you don't want, right? Um, kind of. Like, technically, yes, there's logic happening here. Um, what's the word? Technically, yes, there is login, there is logic happening here, but I mean, technically, like this alone is logic, right? But I'm pulling out. Uh, I was gonna say I'm trying to pull out logic that's difficult to test, but I'm wondering if Yeah, maybe there's a better way. Let's first try to figure out if this even works. So let's test. UXCB, thank you for the follow. Really appreciate it. I really should work on like the pass-through information here. Um, okay, now we're simulating. Oh god. Um, okay, so technically this was this was calm. Um, but now I'm thinking back to something CP said. It's like, well, okay, so I would navigate away, but I kind of think that before I navigate away, I'm wondering if I would want to basically show like what would a completed login state look like? And maybe we want to make that. Um, what I'm thinking of is like think of going into login view state. Oops. I'm thinking about adding another thing here, like completed. And this would extend login view state. You can basically say like, okay, well, once it's completed, show empty credentials, um, and buttons enabled would be false. Like, so this is what you would see before you navigate away. And so in our view model, that's what we would want to return here. Let's see how this would look. Um, yeah, I suppose I keep thinking about what Tim said. Um, yeah, I'm just thinking in the context of the login screen itself, the login view state doesn't really matter. But I guess it would be nice to see like an empty state before moving on. Um, so let's try this again. Um, so if this works right, what we'll see for now is okay, yep. The submitting goes away and then we kind of see this default screen. So okay, I'm gonna commit this real quick. Handling successful login flow. So this is a working solution. Um, pending in the production case what we yeah, exactly. They're not going to see it, but or maybe they'll see it's disabled briefly before it navigates away. Um, so pending the production case where instead of a log statement here, this would actually do some navigation. This is kind of the flow of data that we want. Um, oh my God, CM Griffin, thank you for the raid. Welcome everyone. Thank you all for coming. We're doing some Android dev tonight. Hope you're all excited. Weiler? Hope it's Weiler. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Um, you guys are awesome. How was your stream, CM? Oh my God. Owen Codes, thank you for the follow. Quicksilver, gotta hydrate. How's everyone doing? Oh my God. More follows. Thank you all for the follows. I'll try to keep calling them out as they happen. Um, billing stuff. That sounds almost more fun than the login screen. Almost. Um, we've been working on our login screen all night. And today we are getting into Alt F4 stream. Thank you for the follow. We are getting into the woods on thinking about navigation. We don't have Jens, thank you for the follow. We don't have like a home screen set up yet, but we're thinking about how to model the flow for getting into the home screen when it happens. Mezzy, thank you for the follow. Or Mez Yusuf. Mezzy. I know, I love the happiness. This is amazing. I appreciate everyone coming to hang out. Um, you're all amazing. Welcome to the stream. We do Android development every Wednesday. Right now it's just once a week, but hopefully we are soon. I'm going to try to move to doing it twice a week and maybe more. If I could have my way, I would do it more. But y'all know how life is. Ah, yes, don't worry. We have our back button here. Uh, So if any of y'all are unfamiliar with Android, or maybe kind of familiar, we technically did uh, demonstrate how we would handle logging in, but we are now trying to decide whether or not we did it the quote unquote like right way. Um, and really that's just like where all the code should live. So where do I start to try and explain what we just did? Um, well, so part of the problem, where was I at? Where was, so we've got this class right here, which is our login screen. And originally, take all this out for a second. Originally, what this class was doing is it basically just had some view model that's responsible for giving us a login view state, and it passes it through to this other function, which generates the UI. Easy, very simple. Well, not very simple, but like this class, just a handful of lines. All of the logic for what the view state should be and how to display it is elsewhere. In this class, this function is just to be like, get the state and show it. But now we've got like this problem of, well, I need to surface when I want to navigate away from this screen. And there's all sorts of ways to look at that. And one way I did that was we expose a function, which is do this thing when login is completed. And then we've kind of got this aptly named side effect that will listen for basically an event saying that login is completed. And once that event has been received, it will invoke our login completed function. And now that I've said it and kind of walked through it, this isn't a terrible solution. But one downside is what I showed y'all previously, where this class was just take the view state and pass it into login content. I liked that because there was no logic inside this function. It's intended to just basically be a proxy of data. But now I've introduced a side effect, and it's just thinking about how we test that side effect. And is that the best way to do things? I don't know. Um, I think there are plenty of other ways we could do it. We talked about like how some apps have like an event bus. Um, ah, you're waiting for Griffin to stream. I don't know how long you're going to be waiting. It might be a while, but thanks for hanging out in his waiting room. Um, but yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways to do it. Like another potential idea was like an event bus, and I actually think a cool approach to that idea is we could leave this function here as basically being empty or just doing the proxy. Um, yes, this is Android Studio, which is built on top of IntelliJ and is then very similar to all the other JetBrains IDEs. Um, but if we did like an event bus, we could leave this empty, and then here where we have, well, which will eventually be like our navigation controller, we could have this just like listen to events that tell me what screen needs to be shown. And then, ta-da, it just works. And I don't really have to worry about like, was login completed? I just need to listen to some navigation event. Um, I think that might be like a future stream sort of refactor again. But yeah, I think that we've got a start here for like how we would at least process data for signing in. So now we can, thank you. But actually, speaking of looks, the other thing I wanted to work on tonight was a couple tweaks to this login screen um, that I want to work on. And so let me make a quick pull request for the work that I just did, and then we'll switch to a new branch. Um, and we'll do some more UI work because there's a little more that I want to work on. Um, successful login happens. Commit this to the main activity so it can navigate in the future. All right, let's get that running. So one of the things y'all can join us in is so this state you're looking at, if you missed it, this is actually supposed to be like when I type some information in the login screen, and I simulate logging in. We're just using a dummy repository, so it returns really fast. But this is like the login was successful, and I want to navigate away. And we don't have that navigating away yet, but this is like the state that you would see beforehand. And one of the things I don't like is that these inputs are still enabled. And I would like it to be that they are disabled when I don't want you to interact with them. So I'm going to make a new branch here, and we're going to make sure that those have a disabled state. Yeah, send that to me, Tim. I'll ping you about it tomorrow if you don't find it today. But I'll ping you over in the chat room and see. Yeah, let's talk about disabling inputs. And I actually think this shouldn't take a ton of heavy. Like the cursor disappear when you're not on the keyboard. Partially. X60, thank you for the follow. Not just the cursor disappearing, but also if this is supposed to be the submitted state, I should not be able to go in here and start typing again. Or another problem is like, if I'm in the loading state, this, you can't see it, but this happens. If I'm in the loading state, like I'm making that request to sign in, we disable the buttons so you don't like smash the button and make a bunch of requests. But the user can still start typing. That doesn't make sense. You shouldn't be able to type while the request is being made. I think you should have to wait for it to finish. So let's kind of work backwards into how we would make that happen. And the first step is let's go down to the component level and figure out how we disable that component in the first place. So we have a, we have this custom composable that we have ourselves. If you're Quicksilver, I'm not sure if you're an Android person, but we are using a new UI framework for Android called Jetpack Compose. And that's why all these functions are labeled composable, but this is basically like a UI component is what this boils down to. It's Android's new declarative UI framework. And we've got this composable that we've made, which is like our own text field. And what I want to check, because I don't know the answer, is here we're using a outline text field, which is coming from the Android library for Compose. This is this outline. Oh, well, let me know if you have questions along the way. I'm happy to answer them. But this outline text field, this is coming out of the box from the standard library. And I just want to check if this even supports. So it does have its own enabled property. So what we need to do is have our own text field have an enabled property that we can consume. So this will be a Boolean and will default to true. Okay, so we've got a text field that can consume a property for whether or not it's enabled. So let's go to the places where this is used. More specifically here, where we create the email input. It consumes the text, error message, etc. Let's have this also take in a Boolean for enabled. And we will proxy that through to the subclass. And we'll do the same thing for the password input. We want to know, is it enabled? Cool. And then pass that through into the custom text field. Now, we're going to have some other compilation errors further up where we then call those methods. So here's this for context. This is the column is like a vertical stack of items of everything on the screen here. App logo, email input. Here we need to say enabled. Now, our view state, thankfully, already has a property for enabling and disabling buttons. And I think the way that I would think about this is if the buttons are disabled, so should the inputs. Like we disable the buttons because we intended that the user would not interact with the UI during this moment. So actually, I think enabled would be not view state dot buttons enabled. And we would take that same logic and apply that on our password input. Or wait, sorry, I don't want to not. It's enabled if our view state says buttons are enabled. Yes, Tim got ahead of me. So I'm going to rename this to inputs enabled. A button is input. I typically talk about it as like text, but input could be any sort of user input. I think that includes a button. So we'll add that there. And what I'm going to do to test this actually, actually I don't need to add I was going to add like a delay, but what we'll do is we'll just have it when we get into that completed state, we should see that everything is disabled. And while that's running, let me just go pop. Oh, I have to update that pull request with stream history. I'll do that after. So we'll just make a string of pull requests and I will merge them all after the fact. Also, part of what I want to do to the screen is make it easier to tab through these inputs. Anyway, so we log in. Nice. Everything cleared and everything was disabled. So what should happen in reality is this will not be a problem because once this happens, we words will navigate away. So let's go ahead and commit this. Disabling text fields when buttons are disabled. Or rather, with same logic as buttons. And what I'm going to do real quick is I will make the pull request, but like I said, I'll kind of move along a little faster now that we have some guests hanging out. And I will clean up these pull requests after the stream. But if you're new here, if you want to follow along to the project, exclamation point GitHub will give you a link to the project. And to clarify why I'm sort of ignoring the pull request at the moment, let me make this one and then I'll show you. So when we are loading or in a submitted state, let's disable the text fields. Let's call this design work. And we're going to throw this in the onboarding project. So in this repo, we have a stream history markdown file that I put in every stream. There's a little hyperlink to it. And for each one, we have the pull requests that were made that day, any notes of like documentation or blog posts that are referenced. And then when it eventually gets up on YouTube, I'll post the YouTube links in here as well. So I tried to stay on top of this and actually enforce myself to stay on top of it because I have an automated pull request check that will fail the pull request if I don't update that stream history markdown file. So that's why this pull request failed, and that's fine. I'm just gonna keep coding, hang out with all of y'all, show you what we're working on, and then I'll clean those up separately. But this is a way that I guarantee that if someone misses a stream, I have good notes for people to dive in. Or even if they don't miss a stream, if they want to go back and find a particular topic that we looked at, they can find that information. I did want to, before I moved on to other thoughts for this screen, I wanted to simulate another test case for this, which was around the loading state. So we have an error state in here where if you submit without any credentials, we show you this error state. And what I'm going to do is I want to simulate that this takes a while to load, so we can see that like everything is disabled while it's loading and then comes back. So we're going to go into prod credentials login use case here. And basically what I'm going to do is right at the front of this, let's just say delay 1500. So delay for a second and a half. Aw, thank you, Tim. That's such a great compliment. I appreciate that. So let's add that delay and let's see how this goes. Oh, you're all too kind. I try to be helpful. I'm glad that it's working. Means a lot. Okay, so here we log in. We see it's delayed. Everything was disabled for a moment, and then we saw the error. So we're pretty confident that this works. Now, there's probably some, actually, I don't think there's much unit testing we need to do. We should have already done tests to verify that when we're in the submitting state, the buttons are disabled. So we should be good. KWA, qua, thank you, KWA, I don't know. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. We haven't written any sort of UI simulator tests for this app yet. We'll do that eventually. But I think for that, what we just added there, we should be good. Gonna do one small thing on the same branch though, actually, because it's loosely related. So the password screen, or the password input. All right, well, there's two problems here. Yeah, let's hold on. Let's make a new branch. That's fine. Password input. I'm gonna call this password input updates because I've got a couple here. Okay, so what are my complaints? Well, the first one being, I don't like that this is cut off when I focus it. And I think, well, okay, so yeah, this is bad. Let's talk about the easier part. So if we look at this, even though they're really small dots, which I still haven't fixed that, they're like not even noticeable, that there are dots here where there's supposed to be text. They're dots, but I can see via autocomplete that, like, I can see what I typed in. It's like trying to autocomplete my password. I don't like that. So how do we fix that? Well, on our text field, in the outline text field, there is a keyboard options parameter. And if we were to look at the implementation, we would see that it has this keyboard options.default. Let's look at what that has for us. So this keyboard options class has a few properties. It has capitalization information. Cheers, Megan. Does this mean you're home? Is that why you're redeeming Hydrate? I hope you made it home safe. So we've got capitalization, which is like cap words, sentences, etc. Autocorrect, or keyboard type, which would be like text, number, phone, and then IME action. That's this little guy at the bottom right. So here, this is like enter, which should, I think, make like a new line. I did drink the water. I'll drink another one just for you. So actually, this is interesting because when I look at this function right here, you would think the solution is to turn off autocorrect. But, and maybe that's true, but there's also a keyboard type for password. And I think this turns off autocorrect for us. And it might do some other things. So I'm going to use this keyboard type. So now here's like, so here's what I'm going to do. So let's have this consume keyboard options, which will be keyboard options.default as the default. And we proxy that through. And so what we need to do is go to where we create the password input. And then right here, because it's specific to password, kind of like this visual transformation, we'll put in our keyboard options right here. Just like keyboard options, and then here we say keyboard type will be keyboard type dot password. And so this should change it so that we don't have autocorrect when we're typing in. Thanks for lurking, Quicksilver. Thank you again, Griffin, for the follow and or for the raid and all the new followers. I really appreciate all of you. Um, go follow on Twitter and YouTube as well. Information's right there. Exclamation point Twitter, exclamation point YouTube. All the socials should have something. Should have a command. Wow. Yeah, we gotta fix the thing. Okay, but even though it's not visible, which is like the main problem, we can see it's the full thing. I should shorten it, but it's full like YouTube. We can see that even though I typed in password, the keyboard's no longer giving stuff away. So that's helpful. So let's push this up, and we'll say handling password keyboard type. Now let's figure out why. Someone finally found the Easter egg. I'm so glad Tim's the first person to do that. um, so that was great. I made that like ages ago, and Prince knows about it, but like no one else has tried it until today. That's great. In case anyone doesn't want to click on that, because they might sound like it's bad, but this links to a Twitter joke from my friend Prince. Said he should have bought OnlyFans.dev and have it redirect to the Android Studio download link. Because we all know the feeling. The second you fire this thing up, your computer is spinning. Oh no, I'm already seeing my like dropped frames go up a little bit, which it's actually been fine all night. So I'm hoping that that stays really low. Um, all right, before I get distracted, or again, welcome to my stream. We get distracted a lot, coding with people with ADHD, but we get through it eventually. Okay, I want to figure out why the heck this doesn't work. So there's actually like for some of you, so here, let me jump into where we can find a solution to this. Why isn't autocomplete automatically turned off when you're typing password? Why would somebody want this? Well, so it should be turned off. The reason it's not automatically turned off is because the out-of-the-box text field, this outline text field right here, it's very unopinionated. It has everything you need for creating a text field, right? So it's got like the value changed, a label, a shape. Is it an error state, a visual transformation? It's got all of those properties, but it's very unopinionated about any sort of configuration. Like it doesn't know that it's a password field. So I have to configure those password specific states. Now this is kind of a concern I have with this new UI library. I wish that there was maybe some sort of default where I could say, I want a password text field and I want to do that. The visual transformation, that's what replaces this with like little dots. You know, I want that out of the box. I want autocomplete off. Like, I wish I didn't have to configure that myself. But the reason for that is so that the standard library doesn't have to be opinionated about things. Um, whether or not that's the right solution is a fair debate. But that's kind of the answer is they wanted the library to be unopinionated so that it, by default, it would just consume some input and then you have to configure those situations. And thankfully, like this keyboard type, you know, all these values, this isn't the standard library, so I don't have to like design the password keyboard or anything, but I do have to tell it use this keyboard type. Yeah. not great, but it is what it is. So I wanted to talk about this resizing. So a way to think about this is, yes, exactly. Um, Out of the box, all it does is text input, and I have to adjust it to specific scenarios. So, like, for example, if I wanted this to be like, if I wanted this to be purely numbers, I can do that as well, but that's an override I would have to make. Yeah, no problem. Great question. Um, so we got this file, this Android manifest, and we rarely go into this file as developers. I mean, maybe that's subjective to the project. We haven't looked at it a lot for this project. Everything in here has been defaults. Um, but there's something we can specify. So the activity is kind of like the root container for this screen. What we see here, this all exists inside of an activity, specifically this main activity. And so here is some XML code where we configure some information about this activity. We give it a theme, which is irrelevant in Jetpack Compose, a label, which also isn't showing up. So there's not a whole lot that happens here. But there's like this intent filter. What this means is, hey, this is the activity that launches when you click on the app icon. But it also has a property called soft input mode, Windows soft input mode. Now, soft input refers to that virtual keyboard that comes up from the bottom. So the soft input mode is what should happen when the keyboard is shown. And there's a lot of, um, sorry, just checking messages, making sure everything's good. My partner just got home from work, so I wanted to make sure she um, didn't have any issues with the dog or anything. I'm not going to go through all of these. The one I want is adjust resize. And what this means is, so right now, when this keyboard comes up, everything's hiding behind it, right? Like it's not really moving. We can see it shifts a little bit, but what I think I want to do, I think, we'll see how this works, is adjust resize. We'll say, when the keyboard comes up, resize the screen so that's basically between the top of the keyboard and the top of the screen. Like it like resizes the height. And now I'm thinking about the way this is set up, and I might not actually like this, but let's run it and let's see what it looks like. We're all about iterative development on our stream. So what I'm afraid is going to happen is everything is going to shrink, or it will fit, but no. Welcome, yes. I think we're still going strong. I don't know if it'll be another 5-hour stream this week, but we're still going strong. Um, so what I'm afraid is going to happen is this is going to shrink the activity and therefore like shrink my column and smush it all together. That's my hypothesis. And that's exactly what happened. We got like smushed. Um, and actually it's weird, the sign up button entirely went away. Now it fixes the problem, I guess, right? Like we can now see, I can see my inputs. This is like better. But for this one specifically, this is weird. Like when I click on email, I don't want the whole thing shifted up. So, um, some interesting ways to look at this. So another option here is adjust pan, which says, okay, instead of resizing what's on the screen, shift it. Like pan it forwards, backwards. So basically when I click on it, it will keep that focus, and ideally it shifts everything upward with it. And I don't know if that works here. Okay, so I think that's what it was by default. So you can see when I select password, it tries to shift, but it doesn't quite work right. Actually, it kind of works, but maybe the issue is that I'm wondering why the keyboard comes up right onto the alignment, the button alignment. Yeah, this is definitely a rabbit hole. Yeah, maybe there's a solution with adjust pan, but I think I remember looking at a Google library for like inset animations. And in order for that to work, you needed to be an adjust resize. So I want that to work. Now let's go down the rabbit hole about why adjust resize is behaving the way it is. So I mentioned that like it's it's resizing the whole screen, right? So it's trying to take everything and it's trying to squish everything onto that available space. At least what it can. Aha! Tim, you're cutting off the teacher. Yep, you're both cutting off the teacher. So yes, like window insets could work, but it doesn't solve the root problem, which is that our login content is a regular column. And for those who are just joining us today, a column, it's a vertical stack of information, but it's fixed. It's not scrollable. And that was fine here because I wanted it to fill that space, but that means when the keyboard comes up, I can't scroll. Um, so a potential solution is to replace this column with a scrollable version. Now I could use a lazy column. If you're unfamiliar, a lazy column is kind of like it lazy loads items. This is really good if you have a long list of data and you don't want to load every list item into memory. You just want to have a handful at a time. But actually, a shorter option here is I could just give a modifier for like a vertical scroll. And just give it this default scroll state. So this tells my column it can, yeah, a recycler view on steroids. But here, let's just say I want this to scroll vertically, and I don't really care about lazy loading, but it will support scrolling if necessary. Now I'm curious what this will mean for the default. I wonder. Oh, Dan, thank you for the sub. Really appreciate it. You're amazing. So I'm not 100% sure what this will do. Okay, so right now, nothing scrolls because we're on the full screen. But if we do this, we resize. Okay, and it's scrollable, but it's still, huh. All right, well, there's a lot going on here. Um, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Like, I guess it's better, but I'm just thinking like, I wish it only scrolled. I wish it only scrolled to the point where password stayed like where the keyboard was. Almost like I kind of preferred the way Adjust Pan did it, but I wish that it handled itself better. Um, okay, there's a lot going on here. Um, it emulated a smaller screen, ignoring the space used by the keyboard. Yeah, basically. Um, so, oops, message. Yep, we're good. But I'm thinking about a lot here. Well, one being like, not only does this resize funny, are your weights on your spaces becoming smaller due to keyboard making? Yes. Yes, they are, and that's why this um big ol' icon is basically there's like no space between that and the email now. Notice it's keeping the same size, but the space above and below it is basically shifting. Um, and that's fine-ish, I think. Kind of intended. There's also, you see this big white space right here? So this is the column I've set on or a min height. Interesting. We could do something like that. Um, that would help a little bit, but it wouldn't necessarily fix all of our problems. Um, the best way to modularize a project to scale well. I feel like that's a very loaded question. Um, I don't typically use a lot of app modules, but if I did, I would say try to split them by like individual responsibilities, I guess. If you have like, yeah, by feature. For like not even by feature, but maybe even other responsibilities like services like analytics could be its own module. Error reporting could go in its own module, and then you could have like your login module, your home screen module, stuff like that. Um, so anyway, I wanted to point out also, we can see our login button gets cut off by this little bar right here. And the reason for that is because we have this padding around the column, and that fills the screen. And there's an accompanist by Google solves this problem. Uh, this is a library by Google that does some compose stuff for us, and it talks about where is it at? Oh, like content padding. So the padding here, it's being applied on the whole screen. So that's why it's cutting off the button. But ideally, the padding is not really around the screen, but on the content itself. Think of it almost like I wish it was like a margin below the sign in button. And I think that if we use like this accompanist insets, um, I think there was something in here um, where we could put content padding on other stuff. Maybe it's only on certain things. Um, I thought it was there. Maybe it's not. Or, god dang it. I can't remember where it's at now. Remember this document I'm looking at was where I learned about so it shows like so here's a cool example where it shows like the keyboard animating as you scroll, which is only a thing on like Android 12 or whatever. But they do call out in order for this to work, you need um adjust resize. Anyways, I don't know, lots of different ways to think about this. If I made this a lazy column, I'm wondering if it really makes a difference. Um, I actually wonder if the spacers would work right if it was a lazy column. I don't know if they would. Um, well, one thing I want to do, so let me briefly look at like WebShark's idea here, is for this spacer, setting like a min height, default min size. Yeah, so like let's set min height. Let's go with 48. That seems like a nice round number. Um, oh, and gotta hydrate. Thanks. Let's see how that looks. Um, Regarding insets, maybe kind of killing two birds with one stone here. Um, I want to add like an end-to-end experience with this. I want to get rid of this bar. I want like this to go all the way up, right? Um, let's see. Yeah, that didn't work. Um, why didn't that work? Do I need to set the min size before I set the weight? Because order of modifiers can matter. I'm surprised there's just no spacing there. Um, I'm also open to like rethinking this entire login screen too. It's like this was just something I hacked together. The heck? Um, Problem integrating paging library. Yeah, I hear that a lot. Can you tell me more about what you're trying to do with the paging library? I think I'm gonna I fixed sort of. I made it so that this becomes visible, but I introduced a new set of problems as a result. But actually I wonder now that I've made whoops, oh god, why are you yelling at me? Now that I've made this scrollable, um I don't think I tried these together. I wonder what scrollable looks like with a just pan. I wonder if that allows it to pan better as a result. Does default min height need just a height and not a min height? I didn't think it did. Well, let me go back and look at it in a second. I want to see what the scrollable modifier gives me when I also have a just pan. Okay, this actually doesn't do anything for me. That's interesting. Ah, coding is confusing. Let's go with resize for a hot sec, and let's revisit those other problems a little later. Um, Maybe it will be easier to talk about them once we also fix this sort of end-to-end experience. Maybe it's related. Um, is there anything else? So let's say moving to adjust resize. Is there anything else around password input updates that I wanted to make before I go to the edge-to-edge UI idea? Um, Actually, yes. um, let's see if we can figure out why the heck those little dots are so small. Um, so let's talk about it. So, um, here's how I'm going to dig into this concern. So I want to look at the outline text field. I want to look at its source code. Specifically, I want to figure out what text style it uses. Um, I think the answer to this, oh my god, it uses a local one? Local text style.current. This really uses. Um, yeah, lazy column might be a good solution. We could try it real quick. Um, it wouldn't take terribly long. Let's see what happens. So, um, I won't even like I won't even commit this, but unless it works. Let's make this a lazy column. And the biggest thing is that okay, now everything's gonna yell at me because it needs to be wrapped in an item. Um, isn't there a wrapped with um is this what I want? Isn't there like a way to like wrap something? Isn't there a keyboard shortcut? Does anyone know it? Was surround with Command Option T, is that what I want? Surround with widget? Interesting, okay. Whoops, that's not what I want. Nope, I want item. How did they um I guess there's oh god, that's not what I wanted. Trying to find out. Oh, why is this yelling at me now? Oh, because okay, well that will pose its own problem. Um Lazy column is more optimized to lists. Yes, I talked about that earlier, but I kind of want to run it and just see what would happen. Just experimenting here because we're all about that. But what I'm worried about is so after I wrap everything in an item here, uh, I'll talk about what I'm worried about. Oh my God, there's so many things in here. But it would give me, so one other benefit to, you did miss me integrating Hilt, but you'll be able to catch it in the YouTube video. So one other thing we get from the lazy column is I get the padding fix out of the box because I can, instead of using the padding modifier, I can use content padding, where I can create the padding values there. Soup Booey, thank you for the follow. How many people use the words good soup to you right now? Oh no, where did it? Enabled. Great catch. Tim really paying attention out here. Okay, so these spacer modifiers, they no longer work because we're like we're in a lazy column. And I don't like I could put another column here, but I feel like this is weird. Um, I'm actually wondering if I don't know, I'm wondering if I should, instead of using maybe this, maybe something that would have also fixed the problem, even in a regular column, is maybe I shouldn't use yeah, maybe I shouldn't be using like a weight here. Like I guess it's nice because it makes it look a little nicer, but I honestly wonder if I should just like hard code some padding values or something. Um, so like, what if we got rid of the spacers and but we set it really high, like modifier. We could do like padding. We could do vertical, like 88 dips or something as like the spacing around our app logo. Let's try that out. Uh, just for kicks, let's hard code like that 88 dip spacing um, around the app logo and see how it looks. All right, I'm like, wait, I'm surprised this is scrolling. Oh, I guess I'm not because um, until you're ready to support live screen devices, this is the way. That's fair. So, but I guess like so one of the risks here is like if I have a small phone, then like these buttons, they won't always be visible. And that's what I don't like. I want I like what I liked about the column is I was able to fix these at the bottom of the screen. Um, that's what I liked about it. And now I actually can't guarantee that. Like even though this looks really close, it's scrollable because it just doesn't quite line up. You have an excessive spacer at the bottom. I don't think so. There's nothing below the sign up button. So what it is it's like it's this, so even though it looks like it's really close, by adding 88 above and below this, I'm actually pushing the sign up button down a little low. And so it's scrolling up because of that padding. Like here, let me scroll it down. Line 161. No, this isn't. Oh, what? Get out of here, Tim. Stop being correct. God damn it. One day y'all are gonna come on and it's just gonna be Tim on the webcam, doing things right. Um, but okay, so you were right here. But in theory, what I've described is still a potential problem. If I have a phone that is shorter than the Pixel 5, um, we could still have this scrolling problem. So, but okay, for the Pixel 5, this is better. So let's see what happens here. Okay, so email that didn't need to slide. What just happened? It doesn't work. What the heck? The keyboard just straight up closes. Let's let's go back. Let's get rid of this for a second. I just want to try everything out. Huh. Oh, that's what I did wrong with the sign up button. Got it. That makes sense. The true mob programming experience. Okay, this adjust pan still doesn't do it. Oh, well, I guess that time it wanted to. Huh? That's still so weird. What the fuck is happening? Let's Google this. Um, Industry size not working. Let's see what they're talking about. I'm scrolling down to the answers. Um, can you not use required size? I don't know what required size is. Is that a thing? Yeah. Let's double check how this lazy column works. Yeah, I don't think adjust pan is what I want either. Yeah, so we fill max size here. Do I want fill max size? I mean, I want fill max width. What happens if we just do that? I'm just curious. I don't think this is really any different, but maybe this will do something different. Um, if we're not forcing the height to fill up. Required size as a modifier. And on which component do you think I would use that on? Yeah, why the heck doesn't this... So we tried that. We tried that earlier, CP. If I do a git reset, that's exactly, we're gonna end up there. Um, yeah, this is just, it's just annoying. I had this problem at my work too, and I don't remember how I fixed some of this. I know that my work app is using adjust resize, but I don't remember how I got the screens to work right. Um, well, so I have this box that's filling max size. Um, and so is there something there? So is it the fact that I have this column inside like a box? Is the issue with the box resizing? Um, I was looking at something. Yes, I was looking at that, but I didn't read the answer. Oh, look, I have it open. Why? I have two tabs. But I wasn't looking at it very closely. Um, okay. But on compose, I put adjust resize. I manifest through the activate. The keyboard continues hiding the footer. Okay. Nope, that's fine. So here's that footer that they mentioned, and when the keyboard's open, oh, what do I look at? So how do they? Okay, so they have a column that fills max size, app bar. They have a box, has a footer in it. So let's look at the answer. The problem is in your lazy column modifier. If you set weight to 1, it will work. So that's basically saying like that should fill. Mm. So I'm thinking back to, okay, so okay, sorry, I'm not articulating what I'm thinking. Right, it says to fill the viewable port in some way. I'm gonna do a hard reset. I don't think, thank you for the follow. Um, I don't think the lazy column is necessarily the problem here, so I'm doing a hard reset back to where we were with, hopefully this was where we were. Okay, so we were at a column with vertical scroll, and we saw like the same problem happen, um, kind of. But let's actually go back to what happened here. Um, or what I think might be related. It's like so we've got this column, it scrolls. When I click password, it comes up and it's like it's almost like I said, it's weird. It comes up higher than I think it should. And I think a reason for that is because of those vertical spacers. Um, that they basically go away. And so this pulls up the whole screen with it. If that makes sense. Like, I wanted password to come up where this was, and I think it would if words if it was necessary, like if there was enough scrollable space. But because there's not, because those spacers are shrinking, it's kind of coming up. Right? Yeah, a better way of saying it. If the whole screen would scroll. So I'm actually going to go back to something we tried in that last run, which is what if we, instead of those filling the spacers, what if we instead put like some vertical padding on the icon that will always be there, saying I want this amount of space above and below the icon no matter what. Um, does that work? Okay, so we take that modifier. Um, and let's try this. I think this might help us out. Because yes, now everything as it's laid out originally will scroll as it was laid out originally. It is weird, but it also kind of makes sense. Okay, so when I select email, this one's okay. So we've got that content padding issue, which we knew about. But see, I can still scroll as expected. So let's close that. And if I select password, why don't you focus? Is this like a separate issue? Like, I thought that it would. I thought that when it resized, that this would come up with it. Like, that's would happen in an XML layout. That this focus would bring it up. Yeah, focus controls suck. But this is definitely like a lot closer to what I want. I want to. I don't like this padding issue. Um, I hate it, and I don't know. slap a sign with Google button and call it a day. Oh, Raphael's got an issue. Is this a known problem? Lazy column scroll state should automatically update according to the window. Um, yep. Okay. Oh my God, these are back in August. When will this issue get resolved? Okay. Looks like they do something with provide window insets. That's from the accompanist library. Oh, but they have a custom text field that has some relocation. Oh my God, there is so much here. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through really fast. But I think the short answer. So what we're seeing, state visible adjust resize. I have not. I can look at it. What we're seeing as the issue, obvious in hindsight, but just to clarify, the issue being like, so the resizing seems to work, but the problem is that this focused view is not coming back up the screen when the keyboard comes up. Um, and so with some of those code snippets that I scrolled through really fast, we're doing, well, that doesn't work, CP. Great try though. Um, with some of these compose snippets we're doing is they were using this thing called a location requester. Um, like here we can see it, a relocation requester. And we basically have this launched effect. So, okay, if the keyboard is visible, I don't know what this interaction source thing is. Um, oh, maybe that's like, is it being interacted with? Okay, so if the keyboard's visible and this text field is being interacted with, we wait 300 milliseconds and then we say bring into view. So this is probably what would slide it up and make it visible. Um, and yeah, like I don't know if that's great. There was another snippet, let's see, um, that made this a little shorter. Um, but it looks like they just create a relocation requester and we put it on the modifier. Oh, and then when the value is changed, it calls bring it into view. Bring into view. Um, let's try their solution. Just a quick hack. Let's try their solution here. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I was reading that and I should have zoomed in for y'all. Um, let me show you their solution. So they have this relocation requester, and it's a modifier on the text field. And what they do is anytime the value is changed, they call bring into view. This won't necessarily work for us. I want it to come into view when they like open it. So I guess it's not so much on value changed, but maybe like on focused, which we could do actually. Um, let's try it out. Again, we're just kind of spitballing here. Um, let's go into TOA text field. Um, yeah, we're just we're spitballing here and seeing what happens. Why are you yelling at? Why are you yelling at me? Of course, it's experimental. Because why wouldn't a potential solution be experimental? So we'll add that relocation requester. Well, let's. Is it here? It's not here. On the modifier, we can do on focus changed. And then let's say if it equals. Oh, this is changed. if it is focused, relocation requester dot bring into view. So that's how we're going to try this. On focus changed. If we are focused, bring into view. I'll try anything. This sounds like a working solution, but we shall see. And if it does, I'll actually move this into compiler argument as well. All right, it did not bring it into view. That's weird. Okay. Another one with a relocation requester. Oh, oh, it's not just enough for me to call bring into view, but I need to put that on the modifier. Sorry, so let me do that. Um, relocation requester. That's what I missed. I'm telling it to bring it into view. It doesn't know what to bring into view because I never assigned that modifier. Uh, that kind of worked from the email one. Okay, hold on. It was kind of working. It's like once this is open, it kind of works. Um, which I wonder if that's fine because the user's gonna hit email first. Um, there's also I hate like when I hit tab. Um, so yeah, that does some weird stuff. I want to move to the next item, but it doesn't give me the next action. Okay, this is wait, well. Alright, so that's a bug. Um, we don't we don't want oh god. Oh my god, this is ridiculous. I wanted that quarter radius to stay the same. But no, it's a 50%, so it just material you fab. Yes. That's exactly what it looks like. Oh my god. This whole screen is just a mess. Um, top down, we just got a mess. I hate the padding's broken, the input field's broken. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. Um, all right. Um, where do we even start? Which one of these do we want to fix first, y'all? Um, try max line. Well, so the issue is not max lines. The issue is the shape changes. This will actually be a quick fix. Let me show you. So we've got text field shape. It's a rounded corner shape where the percentage is 50. Okay, that's fine when it's flat. Um, but now but that's not great all the way around. Thank you for clipping that, Prince. But that's not great when this grows. So actually, a better way to think about it is, well, this has some sort of like fixed height, which I think out of the box is like 56. Let's see if we can find the answer to that. If you look at outline text field, um, somewhere in this rabbit hole of code, I'm going to find it for you. There is a height configuration. Where is it at? Ha. So it has a min height of 56 dips. So, okay, what we could do with that is if we want a 50% radius, we basically want this to be 56 divided by 2. Um, No, it's not about the keyboard type. Um, it's literally just this shape. This rounded corner shape being 50%, that's what's wrong. It's going to keep that 50% no matter what. So what we'd be better off doing is we figure out what that radius is at the starting position, which would be 56 divided by 2, which is 28. Um, and what this will do then is this will keep the height of the input, right? It will start with 28, so it will look like a pill shape when it starts. And then as this grows, it keeps the corners at 28. So we'll get kind of a rounded square. Um, I mean, you're right. If it's always going to be one line, that's fair. We could set max lines to be one. Um, but I guess I would want to support something that could be multiple lines in the future. Um, so this is actually better, even though it still doesn't scroll, but this is what I wanted to happen. This actually works great. So this is what I think would be the solution. But yeah, email technically would never grow more than one line. But now that we know that if it did, our radius is going to work out. Um, yeah, fixing radius. What did we change in login content at this run? We none of this works. Um, okay. I also really want to fix the padding on this because it's driving me up a wall. I hate that when this comes up that I can see the padding here. So let's talk about how we can fix that. So one way, when we used lazy column, if you saw that earlier, and it has this property called content padding, the way that works under the hood is instead of applying it on the column itself, it calculates it for each item. So it basically will like look at the first item and be like, you get the top padding. And then it looks at something's the last item and it's like, you get the bottom padding. So like one way we would do that, if I were to hack this without specifying it, like what I would do here is um, words. So let's like look at it this way. Let's say we want to do content padding ourselves. This will be padding values, and it will default to padding values with this guy, this screen padding. Um, so one way we could think about it is instead of if we don't want to apply it to every item, and we don't, um, we could get a little hacky. Like we could say, okay, here we want padding, but on the column we're just going to do the horizontal, which I don't have. So actually, wait, can I not? How do I get information from content padding? Do I really only have content? Ah, okay. I want to get like the start, but it looks like I need layout direction, um, which is fine. How do I get the local layout direction, not current? That's what I want. Sorry, let me close something to make room. So on the column, we could put the start and end padding to whatever gets passed into this function, right? Like that's one way to do this. And then what we need to do is apply the top and bottom to the first items in our list. So this is a little tricky because the app logo is first. So um, let's say this is 88. Oh my God, I'm gonna have magic numbers yelling at me. Wait, hold on. Oh, yeah, hold on. I need to put, God dang it, hold on. Um, what's happening here? So our bottom, I'm just gonna type it out. Um, could I use a spacer here? I guess in this case I could use a spacer because the issue earlier wasn't so much the spacers, but it was the width of them, or with the weight of them. But you're right, I could just throw spacers at the top. So like here, I could do vertical spacer, um, and this would be content padding dot top. Calculate top padding. Easy, great idea. So then we would basically take the same idea and throw that at the bottom. But here we do calculate bottom padding. So let's run this, and this should fix. This should simulate like some content padding for us and avoid seeing things cut off when the keyboard is open like that. Yep, so now as I scroll, I no longer have now as I scroll, I no longer have that weird like white bar. And then if I scroll all the way up, I see like there's if you see between the ripple and the keyboard, that's our content padding in action there. So we can't figure out why bring into view doesn't work. Um I wonder if someone in here had ah so other people posted they did it here. They keep a current scope. They delay for 300 milliseconds. I think the reason for the delay is for the keyboard to open, is I think what's happening here. And that's why this other answer way up here was a little more complicated around this launched effect, because it sounds like this is a way for them to ensure it's open. Oh no, they also have the delay. Okay, let's try, so password's not coming up. Let's try to also add a delay ourselves and see if that's the issue. Is that we need the keyboard to open up first. So that's back over here in our custom text field. Let's create a coroutine scope. And then here we will do launch, um, delay 300, and then bring it into view. I'm also going to take this and I'm going to comment this in here just so I know why the hell we did this. And let's see if this fixes it. This would actually be really nice. Then we are getting close to a nice working input. Hoping for the best. Ugh. Why? Why doesn't this work? Everyone else said it worked. Why does this work for them? Am I missing something? Let's keep looking through the issue to see if there's someone else. Well, a lot of people arguing that it needs higher priority. Um, oh yeah, they're just pointing out that it's different than um, the composed version. That was the last comment. That was like 10 days ago. Um, okay, why? What am I missing? Why does Why do they claim this works? Is this even being triggered? That's another thing. It should be. Yeah, okay, it is. Um, okay. So what happens if I like, okay, there it worked. You can see when the keyboard was already open, it comes into view. So this kind of hints at like the idea that the focus requester works, but for some reason when we're like here, it doesn't. What if we delay longer? I'm gonna delay for a whole second just to try to narrow down the delay being. Yeah, yeah, great idea. Yeah, we're gonna delay for a whole second just to verify if that's the issue. And if it is, maybe we consider doing this much more complicated like launched effect thing. I think we could probably do an on click on the text view, but that's kind of what's happening here. K-Float, thank you for the follow. Um, well, so both of you are kind of on the right track. So even though I'm not doing click, on focus change should effectively be the same thing. When I tap on it, it collects focus. So I'm saying, cool, we have focus. Let's launch this coroutine, delay, and then bring this into view. And I think the delay, even though no one said it, I think this is like a delay for the keyboard. Um, and that's exactly it. Like with that longer delay, this worked. So sounds like 300 milliseconds wasn't quite the best delay here. Um, so the question is, well, do we want to keep this, let's try even, we could even try like 500, which would be a little closer to friendly, but I don't like knowing that this is a magic number. I'm actually curious if we can try, well, right, so Trex, that's what I think this answer does. Let's talk through it. So they've got a focus manager. They've got all these like, I don't know why interaction source is relevant. I don't think that's relevant to our thing, but here they get a reference to the IME. This is, what does this stand for? Input method something. The soft keyboard. So they have this launched effect. I don't know what the difference between launched effect and side effect is. But basically, if this is visible, then we delay. And I think that that is, um, I'm just wondering why they need interaction source. Why that's relevant. And I wonder if I try launched effect without the interaction source, if this would still work. Um, yeah, so even 500 wasn't fast enough. So, let's try. Okay, hold on. We're gonna put this at 1,000 again, and I'm just gonna commit this because we know this works. 1 second works. Just gonna throw that out there. We know this works. It's not great, but let's run it, or let's commit it, and then let's try to find a better solution. So, um, how are we gonna do this? I'm going to take their code. I'm gonna copy it real quick and just paste it in as a code comment for reference. Um, okay, so we've got a relocation requester and coroutine scope. So let's try this. So IME equals local window insets. Ah, this is from the accompanist library, isn't it? I bet you it's from the insets library. That's why I can't find it. Yep. Okay. So let's add this. Um, let's add insets UI. 0.19.0. I wanted it eventually because this will help with the edge-to-edge experience that I want to add to this project. Okay, so here we want launched effect. Oh, the key is like what triggers it, I guess. You could have like, oh god, not what I wanted, not what I wanted, sorry. Um, basically IME that is visible. And then this block launches. Oh, interesting. This is a coroutine scope. So can I just like do it in here? Um, I'm gonna follow their answer. Maybe they know something I don't. Um, let's take what's coming out. And then so let's remove this on focus changed. And so let's try this launched effect. Let's see if this does it. Um, no idea if that works. I have no idea why the person over in the Google um, issue was referencing the interaction source. I almost never touch the interaction source property. Maybe they had a reason. If this doesn't work, I will try to add it in. Um, oh, I might also need to make sure I add provide window insets. Otherwise, nothing might happen. Okay, hold on. Let's do that in main activity. Um, yeah, allows the library to set a listener. That listener updates the composition local window insets. Um, okay, it didn't do anything. So, okay, it didn't do anything, but I don't want to call OP a liar just yet. Let's add the other properties that we were not using. Where does focus manager get used? It doesn't. Okay. Let's add the additional stuff that they have. Um, and let's update our launched effect to be the same as theirs. Um, and the biggest thing is, okay, we need to set the interaction source. Let's try this. If this works, why does this matter? I don't remember what interaction source is for. Um, this looks like it's just another, like the state of things. I don't. Is it the delay again? Is the emulator just slow? It is. What the heck? So this solution also works. Um, but it's like it's too fast. That's weird. Okay, so I'm gonna take a step back, and it seems like even though we thought this was more robust, because I had to change this delay, I think we've kind of got the same problem. So I'm actually gonna do another hard reset and go back to the code we just had because that was less code. And I thought it was like a little more robust or a little more readable that way. But we definitely need to figure out why uh, we needed it to be so long. Moving the delay should help as it waits for it to come up, I guess. Well, the delay's happening no matter what, right? I don't think that it's actually weird that is visible is true, but it doesn't work. But maybe there's just something about like it triggers visibility before it's fully popped up. And I actually wonder if 300 milliseconds would work on a physical device. This is another hunch I have that we've got the classic like emulator lag. And I wonder if a physical device would not have this problem. I don't know. Maybe this would work on a physical device. Something to look into. And actually, I think before I do this, I think my static analysis yelled at me. Um, Probably did something somewhere to add a magic number. Yep. Where did we add a magic number? Oh, right here. So we're just gonna ignore that. That's intended here. Um, yeah, weird stuff. Oh, I drank too much water. I have to. I don't want to stop. So it might be a break. We will see. Um, what else is on this screen though? Or for password inputs? The other thing was the. God damn. Wait, why didn't that work? Ugh. I know why they used interaction source. Or I think I know why. So, okay, if I'm if I'm here, go away. If I'm here, this gets focused, and after the delay, it comes up. Now, if I close this, I'm still focused. So when I click on this, it will not re-trigger. And I wonder if the launched effect actually is better for that. Can I go back, even though I did a hard reset? Can I Control Z my way back? I can. I want to see if this solution now actually handles that. And allows me to like click on it anytime. Yep, I need to add this back in. Classic Android. Yeah, and then once I figure this out, I want to fix the font size on the input and figure out why that looks so small. Maybe it's an issue with the font family. Maybe it's, I don't know. I might remove my custom typography and see how it looks by default. It didn't come up. Why not? I thought we fixed this. I thought this worked last time. I swore this worked last time we ran it. Am I crazy? I'm gonna do it clean. Anything can happen. I'm going mad, I tell you. I will try this one more time, and regardless of whether or not it works, I'm moving on to the frickin' text size. I just wanted to know that it worked. Interaction source is set, yeah. Um, but it's entirely possible that there was some weird caching in the way that I switched branches like that. Nope, it just doesn't want to work. All right, well, I'm moving on. Let's figure out why the heck this is so small. Well, first I'm going to commit this. Um, I know I committed the solution that's not working, but I need to move on. For my own sanity. Um, let's talk about this. So what I wanted to do, um, just out of curiosity, is I want to, why? Oh, I know why. Fucking magic number again. Heck. I want to remove my custom typography and see what this visual transformation looks like with the out of the box typography. Um, and see if it's an issue with like maybe my font family or the font size that I use. Um, I'm not really sure. Uh, let's go here. Let's just comment this out. And let's run this with the default. Okay. Text definitely looks larger. Um, okay. These dots are bigger, like way bigger. So let's let's see if we can figure out why. So I wanted to figure out, I think the text field, I think it uses the body text style by default. So I actually want to look at that. So our body, we set the font size at 13. We also use light. And I wonder if this is the problem. Like, I wonder if I should use regular. Well, let's look at what the default is. So the default sets body 1, sets a font weight normal. It also has this letter spacing, 0.5. And the font size is 16. So we're setting our body text a little small compared to the defaults. So what I think I might do, um, why is subtitle bigger than body? I followed an old project, or followed one of the Android Dev Challenge typography guides, and maybe that was a mistake. Um, honestly, I wonder if I could, if there's a way. Oh, you can. Okay, I'm gonna try. I was thinking the default font family to be used for the text styles provided. Because I'm actually thinking, I wonder if I could just use the out-of-the-box text styling and then just change the font family to our Urbanist font family, and it seems like that is possible. So yeah, it does that. It does everything with default. Let's try that. As much as I enjoyed all that hard work, um, here's what I'm gonna do now. Before I make an executive decision on that, um, I'm going to comment it out before I make an executive decision. I'm gonna say typography will be typography, and then we'll say default font family, Urbanist. Let's use regular. Although I think this gets a little more complicated because I don't want everything to be Urbanist regular. Now it looks like font family has the ability to take in multiple fonts, but I don't know if like order matters. Okay, so we can see this again, looks a little different. The text is larger, but um ah, oh my god, the dots are still very small. Like you can't I don't even think you can see them on the stream. Um this is really annoying. I wonder if there's like hmm, ah, okay, well I kind of want to keep I might keep with this solution for now. Um let's look at another thing. What if we didn't use the dots? What I mean by that is over in our login content where we create the password input, um, password visual transformation takes a char value for what to replace them with. So what if we did like a hyphen? And like, would that show up better than an asterisk? Let's find out. And then we'd still have that sort of like privacy. It wouldn't be what we're used to seeing, but okay. I like this. This is actually better. This this allows me to use this font style, this urbanist font that I found, but then still have the password be like, hey, there's characters here. And it's clear that there are characters here. Um, I like this. Okay, we're rolling with that. Updating typography. Uh, yeah, you know what? I don't trust my own font style. So updating typography using hyphen for password mask. One other rabbit hole I want to look at real quick is um, the fonts. So construct a font family that contains a list of custom font files. Like that's fine, but um, Poppins and Rubik, are those fonts? Are those fonts? I'm not familiar with them. Um, I'm just wondering, like, if I have a list of fonts, how does it know which one to use? Like, oh, because they have like weights and styles. That makes sense. Um, I get that. But then, okay, so how does I'm just going down this rabbit hole because, like, okay, if I can pass all of these, um, so it sets a light. So does this then, like, I'm wondering under the hood if this then looks up, uh, I'm wondering if this just does like a lookup to find the font weight from like the font. This might answer my question. Oh, this is cool. We can specify like let's try that. Hopkins Rubik. Ah, this is cool. And it gives you oh wait, this is the example type scale. But oh code, this is what I want. Oh, they only have it via XML. But I could still run with this. Um those are interesting. Um where did you pick those? Like have you used those two before? Um hmm, uh, interesting. We could probably try those out. Wait, you can add via Android Studio? That's a thing? Android Studio has a download fonts? I did not know that existed. I did this all by hand last time. Um, okay, before I go down there, let me continue down this rabbit hole a little bit, which is I want to see, okay, so I want to put these all together. Um, or actually, wait, I need to put, okay, here. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get rid of all of these. So those are just the fonts. And create like a font family and stuff. I want to put the, um, I want to put these all together. And I think then that it would, why did my build fail there? I don't know. Um, we'll find out later. Um, then I think it must be able to like look at the font's information to figure out like what the weight is. There's probably something in like the font metadata um, that configures this. Oh, that failed. Why did that fail? Um, exception initialize error. Hey, but what was the error? Am I not allowed to use that font family listing? Yeah, I'll take a look at that in a second. Um, oh, these are from the Android samples. I see. So they use them together. Oh, they put the font. Wait. Oh, interesting. So it's not there. It's or hmm. So it's probably yelling at me because this checks for font weight. So these all have to be different. So I need to specify that that's my extra bold. This is my semi bold. This is my bold. I just want to see. So I appreciate the suggestion, and I probably will look at those because this was just a fun one on Google Fonts. But I want to go down this rabbit hole, of just like understanding how font weights work. Or Um, and that's really cool uh, to see like how you could define like a font family of a bunch of different things and then just set like a single default font family and it would handle them for you. Um, it's hard to tell if anything on the screen. Like I'd almost need to show I almost need like a demo screen of all the typographies so I can see them together. Um, but actually I think we can kind of see it now that these are all different. Interesting. This is cool. I wonder, so just looking at typography from defaults. Oh, this is cool. Oh, so I didn't know that there's let me zoom in, sorry. So basically it sounds like the way this sample does it, which is kind of cool, that so this typography from defaults, they set a text style and they basically put, hey, here's what um we care about for like this text style. And then here it gets the defaults and it does like a merge, which I assume will basically take properties from the defaults and then copy them, which I kind of wish that that like came out of the box because I might want that, right? Like I might want like the default text style solution does this. But like, okay, what if I want body one but with a different text size, but I want everything else to be the same? Like there's no good way to do that other than like this solution here. Um, Interesting. Okay, I think actually I'm gonna play. I want to play around with this as we go. Play around with this solution where we're kind of using the out-of-the-box typography with the urbanist style, and I want to see where that gets us and see if we have issues down the line before I overhaul the whole thing. Um, to see how it goes, but I'll keep Poppins and Rubik in in mind for the future. Um, oops. Cool. Is that? Oh, that's not everything I wanted to do. Um, but it is enough for password input updates. So let's throw that pull request up. Um, in the chain of pull requests that I'll merge all of them after the stream. Fixes to password input. This includes fixing the adjust resize. Or no, does this include adjust resize? Yeah. Adjust resize change, as well as fixing the radius and some typography updates. Was there anything else? Also updates password mask. The speed design stuff, and then we'll throw that in onboarding. And I'll clean up the pull requests after the stream. We'll just keep this going. But I want to play around with edge to edge UI here. So let's do that. And then I think after that we might end up calling it a night. We'll see. Let me just check in with Megan real quick. One sec. Okay, so edge to edge UI. What do we need to do to make that happen? Oh shoot. Um, I'm gonna time box like 15 minutes to see if I can pull it off. Sorry. I'm gonna time back like 15 minutes to see if I can pull something off. Um, so the first thing is, well, how do we get rid of these system bars? Well, I think um, that needs to be done at, where is it at? I think part of this is in the activity, I need to like um speed round. Okay. I think part of it is I need to set like transparency. Here we go. Disable decor fitting. So for your view hierarchy to be able to receive insets, you need to make sure to call window compat.set decor fit system windows from your activity. Let's just copy that line. You also need to set the system bar backgrounds to be transparent, which can be done with our system UI controller library. I could do that. That I might just do. Do I want to do that? Okay, well, let's do the first part. So main activity. Um, we're going to call this. Um, and then, you know what? I know I can do this via XML, but screw it. I'm going to follow their library too. We are going to take this implementation, and we're going to set the system bar backgrounds to be transparent. Let's do that. Go to our app, drop this in. 0.19.0. Okay. Um, how do we do that? We go here, we go uh, copying this. Then we basically need to put that all in here. Needs to go and set content. So if we're in light theme, we want dark icons. That makes sense, because we'll have the light background. We're getting rid of comments. Okay, let's run this. Let's see what this gives us. And if it's what I expect, we will see an end-to-end experience, but it won't be pretty. For example, the button will basically come down by the too close for comfort to this navigation bar, maybe even draw on top of it. So let's see. Oh, actually, it didn't draw on top of it because okay. So this worked out kind of by luck. Um, and I say kind of by luck because we don't have enough on the screen to like have interacted with anything. Um, but let's say, let me show you what could have happened. Well, first, all right, let me commit this, and then, and let me show you what could have happened here. As an error we need to think about. So let's go back to our login content and just let me put it below here. So I just want to show like a, let's see what it is. I'm going to put a spacer and I'm going to give this a weight of 1 to fill up the space, which goes back to what we had earlier where everything gets pushed down to the bottom of the screen, right? So in an edge-to-edge situation, what that will do is, sorry, you'll see, is, so like this. So our sign up button, you see it is like aligned with, it's showing behind this status bar. And then I can scroll, actually this is scrollable, but there's not enough content, so actually like it really can't, like I can't get to this button. I mean, I guess I can click there. Why did that close? Um, but yeah, we don't like that, right? We want that to have some spacing there. So what we want is we actually want to use one of the padding tools that comes from this accompanist insets. So you can see it provides some modifiers, easily used modifiers. So we have like status bars padding, navigation bars padding, system bars padding, IME padding, navigation with IME padding. So yeah. So in this case, with this thing at the bottom, this is actually called the navigation bar. So what we would want to do is basically on the button, where is it at? Um, so actually, this vertical spacer, which we have as like the bottom padding, um, we actually want to rework this to, let's put in, let's just do a regular spacer here so we can use a modifier. And what I want to do here, now I could put this on the sign up button. I kind of like spacers, but technically I could put this on the sign up button because the button is the last thing. Um, but either way, we'd have a modifier and we'd do padding. And actually what's really cool, so we could do bottom is equal to content padding dot calculate bottom padding. And then we can do navigation bars padding. I think that's what I want, yeah. And what this does under the hood is it's kind of like a composed. Interesting. I think what this will do is it won't override my previous bottom padding. I think what it's supposed to do is take that bottom padding and then also add the navigation bars padding. So if I run this now, I'll remove that vertical spacer later, but I think this will make sure that we um, don't have any issues with the status, the navigation bar at this point. And that didn't do it. Why not? Is that not? Do I need to put it on? Let me try putting it on the button. Because maybe spacer is weird here. Um, um, I think that's right. I don't want to put it on the column itself, although I could. No, because then I might have the weird issue again when the keyboard comes up. So I want it to be on the button. Um, what the heck? Maybe I want. Do I want navigation bars with IME padding? Maybe? Oh, this actually idea might help our other problem. Doesn't. What happens here? Okay, you know what? I think my vertical spacer is screwing us up. Or my, like, this weight modifier. I think that's what's screwing everything up. How do I get rid of that? Let's get rid of this spacer. I think that's what's screwing it up. Um, why do I always run it with the... Have a good night, Raphael. We'll see you next week. I'll be wrapping up soon, so you won't miss much. Um, honestly, it's just kind of habit. I don't have any breakpoints set right now, but it's just kind of out of habit. Um, wait, what the heck? So why is this scrolling anymore? What did I break? Oh no. Okay. Um, I'm hitting my time limit. I don't know what the heck I broke by adding these insets. I might need to look at the broader Git diff and figure this out, but I don't think I have time to go back and figure out what the heck I did wrong here. Okay, so forget the edge-to-edge part of this. We will pick up next week. next week we'll either do edge to edge or we'll focus on documentation. I actually think next week we're going to come out with documentation first. So it looks like a lot of you who just tuned in for the first time, thanks to Griffin's raid, are new here. Let me recap, !GitHub in the chat if you haven't seen the source code for this. This is an Android app I started recently for doing we want to get to a wholesome task management application. There is at the top of the README, there's not a blog post. On my blog, I have a blog post where I kind of explained why, but we're not too far into this project. Recently, the last few streams, we've been working on the login screen. That's why the title of this is like, will we ever finish the login screen? We did do that today, for the most part. We were playing around with the UI of it, but we technically did finish like the core functionality of the login screen. So now that we've finished the screen from end to end, my next stream, I actually want to kind of do a recap of the code base and also document how it works, because the login screen is going to be the scaffold for every screen coming forward. And I think that not only will I recap the project, but I want every stream to be kind of a learning exercise. So we'll also go over like what makes good documentation. I think that I wouldn't even call it a soft skill. Documentation is a technical skill that we don't really teach or knowledge share on, but it's expected of all of us. Documentation is part of our job. But how many blog posts and tutorials out there on writing technical documentation? So next week, if you can join us next Wednesday night, I'm going to take a stab at that and share my process for writing documentation, both within the code itself, code comments, but also like broader markdown files and architecture diagrams. How do we make sure those are helpful? How do we document sort of the processes in the app? I think we could spend a whole night just on documenting. And the goal of that stream will be for anyone who joins in to sort of learn about documentation, but then also as we continue down this project and we bring new people along the way, I want them to be able to go to this GitHub repo, and I actually want to add something and say, here's the documentation folder. I want it to be, if you spend an hour reading this, that you're up to date on the project. You don't write docs. A lot of people don't. And so hopefully, I can change that or make it so that the ones we do write are helpful. So yeah, that will be the plan for next week. Tell your friends. I'll probably share this, like it won't be, obviously we'll be documenting an Android app, but I actually think it'd be really good for anyone who likes hanging out with the software and game development streamers to learn about documentation. So that's what we'll do next week. So yeah, thank you all for joining me. I've just hit my limit, so before we hop off, let me see if there's someone we can raid. I know Lando is on. If there's not any other... Okay, I actually don't have any other science and tech streamers on right now. So we're going to go raid Lando. He's a professional Rocket League coach, one of my favorite streamers to watch. So let's go show him love, and I will see you all next Wednesday. Thanks for coming by. I do this every time. I hype up the end of the raid, and then I forget that it takes 10 seconds to start a raid. So then I sit here for 10 seconds trying to fill space until we can go by. All right. See you all next week.